In this video, we're going to be talking all about our Kuma Cascade wood stove. We couldn't find much on Kuma online, so we wanted to give you a review, and we have 12 pros and only 3 cons about this wood stove.
Check it out if you want to see some more.
So in this video, we're going to be talking all about our Kuma Cascade wood stove. We got this wood stove 3 years ago and we use it a lot of the time, so we wanted to do a review on it because we really do like it. Please, however, use the time codes though, because we're going to be doing quite a few different things in this video. We're going to be showing you how it functions. We're going to be lighting a fire. We're going to be talking about our space and what it has to heat. We're going to talk about 12 pros and 3 cons in this video.
This is not a paid sponsorship. We don't get the stove for free or anything like that. It's just 100% honest testimonial from our experience burning these stoves for 10 years or so to heat our houses in central Montana.
Yep, so we do have cold winters that we have to deal with out here, and looking for a wood stove, we landed on Kuma and we're happy that we did. So first we're going to start out with just our space to kind of tell you what this wood stove has to heat.
Our house is about 2,000 square feet. About half of it is got big vaulted ceilings with very little insulation. We have 4 big windows that are about 6 feet by 4.5 feet that are not very insulated, and it's just not a very efficient space to heat. And so we like to use wood because it's economical for us, because we can get it for cheap and heat our house all winter long using wood.
So this is our main heat source for the house. This is really all we use to heat our house. We do have a furnace, but we really do not use it. We only use our furnace when we're going out of town and we want to make sure our pipes don't freeze, so we turn the furnace on and let it run. But otherwise, we are heating our house with this, and we are in Montana and it gets pretty cold, and this does the job. So normally we make a fire in the morning, have a fire for the day, and at night, have a fire at night. When it's not super cold, what kind of temps would you say when we're doing that pattern?
50-degree highs, probably 20s for the lows, something like that. So an average winter day here where we live in central Montana is probably highs in the 30s and lows in the teens, 10 degrees, something like that. And you stoke the stove up in the morning, then you have another fire midday, another fire at around 5 o'clock p.m. And then I stoke it up about 8:30 when I go to bed. And when I get up in the morning about 6, we got a good bed of coals in there. All you have to do is rake into the front where all the air comes in, throw your logs on top, and you're off to the races. Go to work for the day and not worry about it. My wife's mom stays home with the kids so she can keep the stove running all day while we're at work.
Yep, so in the wintertime when it's cold here, and a lot colder than what he mentioned, I mean, that's kind of like average, but we do have some extreme cold snaps. This fireplace is running all day long, all night long, and it doesn't really look like it looks right now. We just got it all cleaned up so that we could make this video, and it is still fairly warm, but I mean, I can touch it, so it's not a cold firebox by any means, but it is ready for its next fire. When it is really cold here, I'm talking like -30s, -40s, we do sometimes get up in the middle of the night and stoke this fireplace. Otherwise, we do not really do that, and our fire made at about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night will last all night, and then it'll be ready for a fire in the morning. So just to kind of give you an idea of how long this can hold a fire, that's what we've experienced.
And the reason why we would stoke it up when it's really cold is just to put more heat out. Because when you choke it down, it doesn't obviously burns slower, doesn't put as much heat out. So that's the reason for that.
Yeah, so that's kind of just what we do, because this is still our only heat source, or our primary heat source, when it is that cold, and it does the job.
We burn wood here, but we start in about September and we burn into May most years. And I'd say the stove is running consistently probably about October until April. It's always got a fire in it or coals. So that's how much we're using this stove and relying on it to heat our house and keep everything warm. We burn lodgepole pine and a little bit of Doug fir, which is, it puts out a lot of BTUs, but it's not like a hardwood, and isn't known for holding coals as long. So there's that.
Yeah, that to consider as well.
After filming, we realized we neglected to add anything about taking time to get to know your wood stove and assure that you are running it in the most efficient way possible so it can function correctly in your space. It definitely took us a little while to get to know this wood stove and determine exactly when to choke it down so that we could achieve a long burn time and so on. It is also important to note that it is critical to make sure the wood stove is installed correctly and that guidelines are followed, such as correct length of chimney pipe and so many other specifics to ensure that the stove will be safe and function correctly. Much of this, of course, applies to any wood stove, not necessarily just Kumas.
So we are on to our next part of our video. We're going to get a fire lit in this fireplace and kind of show you some of its features.
All right.
So while he's getting this fire lit in here, we wanted to tell you that normally we just rake the coals forward and throw a couple logs in and it'll light itself. You don't have to spend time doing this because this fireplace does hold coals for so long. But we are using a piece of pitchwood there to get this fire going because we did just clean this fireplace and it is empty in there, and that's how we're going to start this fire today.
Okay, to use the stove, we open the air damper. This allows all as much air into the stove as possible. And here's your catalytic bypass. It's just got a simple latching mechanism. You pull it out and latch it to open it up. That allows the smoke to go up the back of the stove, straight up the chimney, instead of having to go up through the front and then up through the catalytic. So leave the door open for a little bit, let as much air in there as we can, and once it starts burning a little bit, you can kind of close it, kind of crack the door, and it'll start drafting more air up the chimney. This is your burn gauge, and you can see the stove is not very warm, so it's down here towards 0. Anyway, it'll come up here. Here's a little hash mark that shows that your fire is active. When your fire gets up to that point, you close your catalytic, and then it'll start using the cat and burn more efficiently. So right now we're just letting the fire get some heat going, and then once it gets to where it's burning, I'll close the door.
So right now the door is just cracked open a little bit, and we wanted to take this chance to get into our pros about this Kuma wood stove. So our first pro is that this is pretty attractive. This is attractive, you know, just as a homeowner, and also when people come in, it's kind of a nice feature. So just the way it looks, it's an attractive fireplace. So that's pro number 1 for this Kuma Cascade wood stove.
Pro number 2 is the glass stays clean when you're burning a fire. You don't have to worry about cleaning your glass. We do every 2 weeks when we empty the ashes out, but other than that, it burns off clean.
Yep, if you're burning a fire not very hot though, it will kind of get some creosote or soot built up in there. But then as soon as you burn your next fire, if you burn it hot, then that will go away and you'll be able to see your nice pretty fires.
Pro number 3 is that this stove, which is a very big pro for me, is it holds coals for a long time. So when I get up in the morning, I don't have to go through this whole process of starting a fire, which takes more time and effort. So you can just grab your raker and pull the coals to the front and crack the door and throw your piece of firewood on top, and you're off to the races. You can go to work, do other things, not worry about it.
So pro number 4 ties into pro number 3, and that is that this will burn for a long period of time. So we can go to bed at night, and then in the morning, we're ready to go with a new fire with coals, and it burns all night. So that's pro number 4, long burn time.
Pro number 5 is it puts out a lot of heat for not very much wood. When we bought this house, it had a heatilator fireplace, which was like a steel door, light steel door fireplace. You put a wheelbarrow full of wood in there to heat the house up for the night, and that would heat the house. But instead of that, we have 4 or 5 pieces of firewood, 18 inches long, and that will heat our house for the entire night, which really saves my back when it comes to cutting wood for the year.
And just efficiency overall. Pro 6 is that Kuma is an American-made company, and that if you buy a Kuma stove, you'll be supporting an American business, and that is pretty awesome. They are based out of Idaho, I believe.
Another pro is that you can get a hold of them, and they have good customer service. We've dealt with them before. They're a good small family business. They have good customer service. If you have a question about your stove, they're responsive and they'll work with you. We just asked a question about our catalytic, and they were very easy to work with and responsive.
Yep, and I really do like that it's a family-owned business, so we wanted to make sure to put that one on there. When you call them, you will talk to a person, and that's really nice. So that is pro 7, just how easy they are to communicate with, and that it's a family-owned business. Pro number 8 is that it does have a pretty good blower down here. This wood stove is an insert, so we really needed a blower. Our wood stove at our previous house that was also a Kuma was not an insert, and we did not get a blower on that one, but here we really needed it because of how the heat radiates out. So pro 8 is that the blower does function very well.
Kuma stoves, in our opinion, are very well made. They are a competitor with other high-end brands like Lopi, compared to some other stove brands we looked at, like box stores will carry New Englander and some other brands. And if you look at the weight, the Kuma stove weighs almost twice as much as those other box store stoves. So you're getting a lot more mass to heat and hold heat, and more heavily built. So that's one thing that I think is probably a benefit in the long run.
We are on to pro number 10, and pro number 10 is that buying a Kuma stove for us, when we bought this one 3 years ago and when we bought our Kuma stove prior to that, we compared, of course, as you do when you're shopping, we compared the big name brands, and this was much more cost effective. I don't know where they are right now as far as pricing compared to their competitors, but we also considered like a Lopi is another really popular brand. And when we found out about Kuma and read about it and looked into it, we opted to go with Kuma. And that was a great choice, and it was definitely more cost effective and saved us some money up front. And I don't feel like we're regretting it now, saving those dollars at that point. I feel like we still got a really good wood stove for our house.
This is pro number 11. This is our second Kuma stove, which says a lot. We went and bought another one after the first one. We had the first one for 6 years, had this one for 3 years, and we've been just very happy with them so far. So
repeat happy customers is pro 11. And pro 12 is that this Kuma stove, and I believe all of them, come with a lifetime warranty. Certain parts are only warranted for a certain amount of years, but overall there's a number of items within this stove that are a lifetime warranty, and that's pretty cool that they have that warranty on their products.
Yep, stand by their products.
So now we are on to the cons, and we could only come up with 3 cons. So as you can see, the pros far outweigh the cons. Our first con is that this blower is really loud. It puts out a hum, and we have it on all the time pretty much. So it's just something that we have to combat in our house. Right now we have none of the blowers on. Our fireplace does have this old blower system up here and these side vents right here that suck air up and push air out. So we have a blower with that, and then we have this blower also, and it's pretty loud. So that's our first con, just the noise.
So right now our blower that we purchased is off. We do have our blower going from the system that was already here with this fireplace. And right now we're going to turn the blower on to give you a listen to how loud it is. So on high. On low.
Our second con is that the catalytic might not be working in the stove, which is what is supposed to be reburning some of the gases that are going up the chimney. When we first got it, you'd engage the cat and you could look up in the honeycomb structure up there and it would start glowing orange. And 3 years since we've got it, it's not really doing that. We haven't noticed any negative impacts from that. Like we're not burning more wood or getting less heat out of it that we can tell. And so we're honestly really not going to worry about it.
So this con is also that catalytic converter has a 12-year warranty. And when we purchased this stove, I remember them saying that the catalytic converter will need to be replaced at some point. And that is a con because that is going to end up costing something. Our final con on this wood stove, con 3, is that those warranties are not transferable to the next homeowner. I recently called them to inquire about that, and that was something that they told us, but they did say that they would work with that new homeowner and get them what they needed, but it just wouldn't be under warranty because of changing hands. So that is a con because putting a wood stove in, that's something that typically stays with the house. But anyways, we really love our Kuma wood stove, second Kuma wood stove. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. And thanks so much for checking it out.
Thanks for watching.